Welcome back to the GLAC Studios oil painting tutorial. We are in class 14. I am Gomati Sivasankaran. We have been painting on a 40 by 40 centimeter canvas, learning oil painting, painting a portrait of a baby girl together, and it's been super fun. We have had intense classes. Along the line, we have also discussed many other things related to oil painting techniques and so on. So just to recap, we started out defining certain aspects of oil painting, understanding the basics of oil painting, the canvas, and how to use brushes and so on, and then moved on to make layer 1 and marking golden ratio, going on to layer 2 and layer 3, more definitions and detailing, and then layer 4, little more of the definitions and detailing. That's what we have been doing so far. We are still not done with the layer 4. We have few things left. So I think today's class will start with finishing up a bit of the layer 4 and starting with the layer 5, but we are going to have super fun. I know that we had a previous session that was intense, working on the face and the body of the baby girl, and it was a little bit of a challenge, I understand. For many that are new to this logic of layering and blending, it's always a challenge. Just to touch base on what we have been doing in the layering aspect and blending, each and every layer is a little different from the other. Maybe if I have to put it subtly, I would say the level of blending also alters with layers, at least for me, the way I work. And the amount of oil paint needed also decreases as I move on to the next level of layer. The reason is I would like the first few layers also to be visible through the next layer. So this is the impact that we are creating when we bind layer over layer. So that's what we do. Right now, I think we are ready to get started with the layer 4. As I have put it in the previous classes, I would also love to start the session with some corrections. So every time I am coming back to a canvas, and I think it's a good habit for all of us to keep up, to just look at it, fresh pair of eyes, take a look at it and see where there is a scope for improvement. And if there is, why not? Why can't we fix it? We can fix it anytime, isn't it? So I'm not looking at, doing total improvisation. So just be aware the correction, meaning what we did in the last class, can that be adjusted tiny bit or so. So that's what I'm trying to look at in this class. So when I get started, I mean. So I'm now trying to see the face of the baby girl and the hands, neck, and to see if there is any scope for improvement. There is a lot always, but for me, the most prominent thing that I want to fix is the lip. This is last time when we did the lip, I think we took a bit of crimson. We added white wherever needed. We did use yellow ochre light. I had yellow ochre light. It's okay, you can use yellow ochre as well. I think most of you will have yellow ochre and crimson in your palette or in your painting set. So I guess I will use them. I am looking at the original picture. For those who are tuning in for the first time and thinking where exactly is the original picture, it's available in the description. You can always download and start working together. So I'm looking at the original picture and seeing scope for improvement. This lip is a little more pinky pink. I know it's pretty for the baby girl, but I just want to make it a slightly more natural. Not going to destroy it, but make it slightly natural. And there are some highlights that we have missed. Some subtle highlights that we have missed. I will tell you what we did miss. One thing is that when we made the lip, we did the upper lip and the underlip, and then right in between, I used, I think, Van Dyke Brown to do the partition, the space that is dark. But remember, from the upper lip, there is always a tiny, I wouldn't call it a muscle also, tiny layer that comes down. Even in your upper lip, if you look at yourself and see, there's a tiny layer that comes on. It's a very tiny tweak. And for this, I'm trying to use, I think I'll be okay with the brush number 1. So I'm going to take brush number 1. Or I have brush 0 as well, an old brush. So I have both. If need be, I will switch to this. But let's, for the practice, let me just use the same brush number that I've been using for a while. I'm going to take some of the crimson away. So it's not going to be crimson. So it is going to be, okay, a bit of yellow ochre light. And if you see what I mean by a bit, it's just this on the tip of the brush. So I'm doing this, and I maybe I will add a tiny tinge of white to it. So if you look at what I'm doing here, it's just what I took is already here, and then I've taken white to blend it here. So this is what is there in the tip of my brush. I roll my brush to make sure that the tip is sharp enough to touch exactly on the spaces that I wanted to work on. So I am doing this very slight and on the upper lip also, can you see there is this I usually call it a flat M for the children to understand, to make the upper lip. But that flat M can be a bit more tighter here, that I thought of fixing. And there is this underlip also has the shade. So the tonality is come slightly down, but it looks a bit more natural now. I'm taking again a tinge of white and going over that upper lip area. Just to highlight that okay, so I did that. So if you see, it's not a major shift, it's a tiny thing, but it does help make the lip look a little more natural as compared to what we had previously. I'm taking a bit of crimson because it's too whitey now. I just wanted to be blending, and it is dry from the last class, so I'm also having to, if you are continuing on the same day, you might find it easier. You don't need to have to take crimson like me to blend in. you might find the oil paint fluid enough for you to adjust like this. If you have already done this, then it's very good. If you had already noticed this and done this, it's very good. Yeah? I have done that. Okay, I guess it's okay for now. I'm just looking at if I could use the blacky brown that we mixed. I'm calling it blacky brown because to the Van Dyke brown, I mixed a little bit of ivory black. The reason why I try not to use ivory black directly is that human body structures sometimes, it could look dark enough, but it's not that black, ivory black. It's one step below. It's a minute detail. Yeah, it doesn't make too much of a difference, but I would like to have it look like that. So I'm doing it. I'm just going over the middle of the space where the upper lip and the underlip are touching each other. One more time, just to define the proportions. Yeah. Yes, we did that here. So I guess it starts to look better now, at least a little more realistic than the pinky pink it had from the previous class. And then now I'm looking at some places where it could be slightly dark. So again, the same thing. Look at your canvas. If it is dry or if it is not dry. So depending upon whether your canvas is dry or not, you might want to do different things. I will tell you. What I'm going to do is to take a bit of the blacky brown that I have, and I've added enough of linseed oil here to make it fluid, translucent enough. So this will go on top of it. Why I did it? Because my canvas is dry. If yours is not dry, you wouldn't want to do like this. You would rather take your brush, tip of the brush to your black or the brownie black, and then go over that section and start blending in, because your canvas is not, if your canvas is not dry, then it will blend with the last class's color that you made in the spaces that you're trying to do. I'm trying to put in slight darker features here in the nose. It is dark. I think it's dark enough, but I'm just making sure the highlight is good enough. That's why I did not take too much of the black. It's already oily, and it will help me enhance that dark shades in the spaces that I want to show. Right underneath the nose, underneath the lips. These are the spaces. These are the spaces we already defined as dark in the layer 3. So we have shaded them. I'm just making sure the shade is going fine. Yeah, with this tiny bit of oily black. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm seeing, okay, under the eye, I think this we did. The nose, where it is dark, we have defined that. This is where light is, so no problem for me here. The cheek, under the cheek, this portion of the cheek is slightly. But mind you, while using the tonality, your picture must be a little more brighter than what you see in the real picture. I will tell you why. If you are following every single step of what I have done, meaning you have used the idea of outdoor. This is an indoor atmosphere where the picture was taken. So the overall lighting should be much lesser as compared to the overall lighting that you get when you have a child like this one outdoors. So that's also a reason why I make sure that the overall skin tone looks slightly brighter as compared to what I see in the picture. So this is something that I have been looking into. Maybe I have not mentioned. If I have not mentioned earlier, sorry. Just be aware of that. We do not want the exact shade. We want the light and the dark because the logic of the light and the dark is the same, but still the overall lighting of the canvas is different from what we have in the picture. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I have done the darker shades. So they do not look like major changes, but overall, when you look at it from a distance also, and after you finish, you will see the shift, gradual shift because of this slight change. Be very careful with the black. If you have too much of it, it's hard to remove, and especially in the cases where you are working on a canvas that is still wet from the last class's work. Just be careful with that. I'm looking at the tonalities under the eye. So I have darkened it a little bit. And the shading logic is the same. But the overall tonality is slightly brighter as compared to what we have here. Okay, now I'm looking at the neck. Again, over here under the neck, the chest area, I can see that maybe slightly darker. So I am adding this. Okay. And hands, can we do that? I think this side of the hands. So I'm working on the left hand of the baby girl, just close to the space where the shirt is ending. And that's the space where I wanted to build a little more of the darker shade, not too much. And in this case, for my paint as well, I can see that it is blending with my previous color tonality. It is still not totally wet. So I'm aware of it. I'm not taking too much of oil then. I'm going directly to the color. This is one good section. I'm working on the arm, blending it enough that it doesn't start looking like, specific lines. We don't want that. Okay. So if you look at me, I'm more and more I'm using the circular motion. This I did. Okay. The hands, slightly dark on the other side, slightly dark on the finger tones, and not too much. And it's hard because it's a tiny finger that we are working on, but it's a good learning, isn't it? So let's do that. So that's fine with the left hand. So if you look at it, it's not too much when it comes to some of the layers. Less is more. And we can define subtly some of the spaces. So underneath the shirt, the curves of the shirt, because of that, there is this darkness created. We have done this before, so it's already showing. So if you are looking at your own artwork, I think you will be able to see from the previous highlights, the shades would appear for you to follow through and make sure the shading is appropriate. So it is there. So it's not something new that we are introducing. We're just defining into correct proportions the darkness wherever we might have missed. In my case, I feel I have missed. That's why I'm doing it. If you have not missed it, if you've got it right, then it's okay. I think you can skip on, move to the next class maybe. Okay, I guess I have adjusted enough of this tonality. Okay. Good. We will now move on to the last part of layer 4, which is the sky itself. If you have got your sky very clean and you're saying, okay, I don't have to work again on this, that is fine. In my case, I'm pretty sure that I use my hand and I did certain things while working on the face. So there is some sort of dirtiness in this space. So I will try to move this a little upward so you could see. This space is not clean enough for me. And I think it will help for me to do the blue area slightly, maybe not too much, but slightly. So I'm going to remove the picture. So this is going to be a part of the layer 4 that we will finish. So I think I will take the larger brush number 10. I have titanium white with me already. I think I used a bit of sky blue last time to do this part. So I will take very tiny bit of that. So that's what I've taken here. Okay, and now I take a bit of, I dip my brush in the oil, linseed oil, and I am taking white, more of white, very tiny bit of the sky blue, because I don't want too much of it, and I'm not going to go fully the way I did the layer 3, yeah. So I will take a little more of the oil. I guess for me this is good enough to start with, to start working on the corrections. No? So I'm looking at the places where I might have put my finger or something that is going wrong. It shows really sharp on a canvas like this. So I'm just hiding off that. Yeah. Right close to, especially this side of it was not so good for me, and I am reworking on this. I like adding directly, so not someone who mixes and gets ready. So I'm just adding directly a little more of the blue, sky blue, to see how it is, and blending it along. Okay, those are the areas where I wanted some corrections to be made because I was not satisfied. So those were main areas, and when I'm doing, I'm also seeing how the sides look. I don't want the sides to look different. So when I do a lighter shade, then I make sure that it goes through. Mhm. So this is done for me, this side. Let me look at the other side as well. It doesn't have too much, but I would love to have this also rolled clean. Very, very minute color patches I could see because I'm just close to the canvas. So this is about you building on the quality. So it doesn't matter. You can say it doesn't matter and say, okay, I'm done. I will not work on this anymore. But it tells more on the quality that you are trying to define. So even at this level that you are learning, try to see smaller areas of improvement and corrections, patches that create that are created accidentally, because you are focusing on the main subject, you're working on the main subject, and then accidentally you put your finger there or the brush goes away somewhere. Something happens, and it does all the time. And the more you try to build in quality and rework, of course, rework is sounds like, oh, that's a lot, but the more you learn to build quality, the more you also learn to bring in quality in the work in such a way that such things don't happen as well. So it improves with time. You get it right all the time. Um, so just be patient with yourself, and if you have done something like this, like what I have done, and clean it up, or otherwise also if you like to change the tonality, want the sky to look brighter, you can make it. I think I explained why I wanted to have it more lighter here, because we have the main subject as the key. I didn't want to want my audience to look at any other aspect of it. The first thing that my audience will have to see will be the baby girl, and I'm trying to make sure that the other aspects are good, but they are only in sync with the main character and not overplaying. Yeah? That's the reason why I didn't want too bright a sky tone. So I guess I am done with the fourth layer now. Um, I hope you also have reached this stage, or maybe doing more than me, then it's also good. Let's now move on to the layer 5. So where do we start? Do we do some fun aspect of working on the shirt and working on the toy? That's also something we could do. So let's do that. Working on the shirt. I'm going back to taking brush number 1, and remember it had browny black for me, and depends on what color you chose. When we did the highlights, I chose a Persian blue, and some of you could have chosen a different color to do that. For me, I wanted to use the Persian blue again. Why? Remember, we made some adjustments here during the layer 4. I want to correct that together. So I'm going to take Persian blue. Let me do that. I have it with me, same that I used. So I'm taking it. Really a tiny bit. This is what I have taken. And I go over the tip of the brush and go over the spaces where I made the adjustments, so I don't want it to look adjusted anymore, so I'm just blending them in. Okay, going back to the color, I haven't taken oil because the white that I have is still not dry, and that's the reason I haven't taken oil. In your case, if you think it is, if you're still doing some adjustments to the baby girl shirt, see if it is dry enough, or spaces where you might have made any adjustments, is it dry or wet? If it is dry, then you might, need to take a bit of oil. In my case, it's not dry. I can still feel it in my brush. Um, this is where I made the adjustment on the cheek to make it slightly um, lesser than what I had previously, and that's exactly where I'm having to go over again. Okay, so blending it in. I'm able to blend in properly without much oil because it's still wet. The white is wet for me. Okay, maybe I will take a bit of the white again, and then one more time to make it. If it starts looking too bright, I don't want it also. So there you go. So it's only the tip of the brush that has the color. So the brush should be dry, really. And right underneath the ear. I'm able to remember where I made changes, so I'm going and faster. But in case you're confused, you're thinking, okay, I don't remember where I made changes. I made different changes from what she's doing. Just take your time to just scan through section by section, and if you need the help of the picture, take the picture again and see where you can make adjustments with the help of the picture. That's also good. Yeah. It's just about you learning from this experience, isn't it? So make sure that the learning happens. Okay, I think it's fair enough for me with the changes that I wanted to do for the shirt. I'm going to start with the green. Yeah, not the toy first, because I have touched upon the concept of green being a dominating color, and I want to see how this goes. So I'm going to repeat the process of the grass and so on, making it little bit more thicker in that manner. So I'm going to work on that. So I will take olive green. That's what I have been using all along, and I did take a bit of Van Dyke brown wherever needed to darken it. So I have it from the last class still, the Van Dyke brown. The olive green, yes, it's dry, so it needs refill. So I usually use the space again on the area where I painted, and it's so dry. That's how I reuse. If you are someone who prefers to have fresh palette all the time, that's also good. Good practice to have. Okay, so I am starting with the darkest tonality, We mixed the Van Dyke brown a bit on the olive green to get the darkest green. I have that patch from one of the last classes where we did the green. So I'm starting with that darkest green. I will take a bit of oil. I'm still using brush number 1. And maybe it has to be a bit more dark, so I take a bit of the brown again. Blend it in. So I have the color ready. So I'm going to go over the spaces right beneath the baby girl hand where it is supposed to be a bit more darker, isn't it? So we do the darker highlights again. The finger. So every finger will have a slight darker tone underneath appearing. And I make sure that it doesn't start looking like a strong line in a way. I want to blend it through. So I'm just pulling it under. We did do that on the left hand of the girl also, underneath her hand, the fingers. Right underneath her fingers, I have placed the toy, so there's not much of work here. But on the sides, yes, I want to do a bit of it. And now I start doing a bit more of the grass. So I'm exactly repeating the method that we did in the last few classes. One of the classes where we did the grass, but I'm just making it a little more stuffy. So I'm going over the spaces where I could have made a few more grass blades. Any other improvements that you want to make? Like, for example, I want to have tiny leaves in this in the flower, the stem of the flower or something like that. So I'm trying to create all that detailing now in this layer. So I'm still working on the darkest shaded area. If you remember, we decided the darkest area will be the one right in front of the baby girl, and the shadow is falling. The shadow of the girl is falling on the earth, the grass, and that's where the darkest shade is. So that's where we're trying to do this. And it will be comparatively a bit more faster to what we have been doing in one of those classes where we did the grass. Because depending on how much you have done previously, sometimes you might not need to do that detail level also. If you have already done it to this detail, then you might not need it. But this is the time for you to refine even in that detail, depending on what you want to change, like adding some more flowers. For me, I don't want to add more flowers. I'm just adding some longer and shorter grass blades. We had longer blades of grass very close to us, right beneath, and then behind we had very short grass blades from the point that it was looking like a dot almost, for the reason that we wanted to create the distance. Keep that in mind as well. So you don't want to make everything totally short and totally confusing. Yeah. So make sure that you have a balance of the long and short wherever needed. And now it's a time for me to work on the space very close to the baby girl's body, and I'm now starting to make only dots because it's going very close to the eye line where we want to show distance. Okay, I did that. And if you see, I have made it really bushy dark. So it's moving away and bringing the face of the girl to the front. The ear, I think we made a lot of adjustments to the ear, so I can see that there are different shades out there. I want to hide it as well while I work on the side of her right ear. And again, the same logic of making it more dotty and more darker close to the ear. Okay. I guess this is okay for me. Near the toy, those are the large, the last sections of darker, and make sure there's some space underneath the toy that is showing darker. If you have made it dark enough, see that it's defined clearly. I can move the canvas a little bit closer to the camera to show you. So this space I'm talking about. Make sure if you're doing it, underneath as well, and the sides of it. Okay, guess it is fair enough for now. I'll move on to doing the same thing on the both sides of the baby girl. I don't need the same darkest green anymore. I want it to be slightly lighter. So to that, to the remaining part of it, I'm adding a bit more of the olive green. So the tonality comes down a bit. I don't want that dark anymore. And I'm dipping in linseed oil, rolling the brush, making sure that only the tip has the color. Ready to go. I'll start working on this section, and I can see that from one of the previous mistakes, can you see that I've got a blue color right in the place where I wanted to sign. I don't need that. I'm just going to try to rub it off. Maybe it is recent. Such things happen. Don't panic. Such things happen. Try to remove it as much as possible. It will go with a tissue paper or something. If it doesn't go, if it's totally dry, then don't push too much. You can repaint on top of it and rework on top of it. So I have removed it to a fair extent, and I'm able to work on it again. Remember, I put my thumb impression, so that's where I don't want any more paint to go because it has a meaning to it. I'll show you in detail when I work on the signature towards the end of the painting. It is still a bit darker as compared to what we have previously, so I'm trying to make it lighter. You can add white to make it lighter, I'm thinking I will add little more of the olive green and slightly take the white as well, so it compensates and I have the kind of green that I want. Not too dark, not too light. Yeah, I guess this is okay. This is okay. Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to use this, so I'll just clean up my brush one more time. Cleaning up meaning I just want the tip to have the color right and not too much of color all the way. Okay, I'm going on to do the same thing, more strokes of grasses, and I want to have, like I said, I want to have some leaves, feeling of tiny leaves and so on. So this is a space where we are creating our own thing, isn't it? So it need not necessarily be exact to the T of what I'm doing. So you choose and decide for yourself what kind of grass you want to have. And if you have some inspiration from a home that you want to work on, do that. Okay. While I'm doing this, I want to share with you an experience of working with a larger canvas that I'm parallelly working on, a large canvas, and I have moved on to another brand that's called Winsor and Newton. I have worked on this Winsor and Newton for another painting that was requested by one of my customers. It was a private art commission, but it was not a large painting as this is. So this is the first time for me working on a whole canvas, using the Winsor and Newton brand. And I must say that the drying time is faster in spite of the fact that I'm only using the same linseed oil. I find the color also, for example, the titanium white, also much more in control. I feel a little more in control with the paint and the brush. Definitely, I will recommend that. I think it's important for us to understand the kind of brushes that we prefer to work with and the kind of brands or the kind of oil paints that we want to work with for a long time now. Because some of you that are working with me on this painting, you already realize that you have crossed 10 plus hours of work, isn't it? So this is a sign of you being able to sit through for a little more hours and doing some layers. And when you are doing such a thing, it's good that you choose something that is working well for you and helping you express yourself better. So if you have started working on this by taking some sample paintings or the 12 ml, the box with 12 colors, 12 ml each, finish this painting with the same. But if you're considering working on larger canvases or more details, I think it is time for you to rethink and try experimenting some brands. From the learning that I've had, it's not that I wanted to switch brands, I had to switch brands. And that's why I have too many colors in my tray up here. But if you are thinking of starting to experiment, the right advice would be that you only buy basic colors, meaning a titanium white, the ivory black, um, a brown, maybe raw umber or burnt umber, olive green, ultramarine blue, uh, yeah, and vermilion maybe. I think stop at that. Do not buy too much of it. And again, these brands might also have 12 ml packets, like small tubes to experiment with. So buy those only and see how you can make different color tonalities using them and how you can work. And when you think that this is the right brand, yes, I want to buy that more and more, go on for larger tubes. That will be better, because I know that it could be a costlier deal to experiment like this and say, oh no, it's not working for me, then switching over. So I have added more of the grass here on the major section. I will work on the sides as well. Let me do that right away. I'm just trying to see where to place my hand to hold it and looking at the side. Yes. So I tried to add a little bit of these leaves kind of thing also here and there. Done that. And I'm going over the section where there is distance. Again, dots. So I'll move a little faster now. Remember the space that is defining the light and dark. Even that needs the grass. Mm-hmm. You never know when to stop, isn't it? I have the same problem too. Okay, but we need to define a stop place. Looking at the sides again and doing the same thing on the sides if they are not thicker enough. Especially on the bend, that's where we miss if you're doing on the sides. Okay. So I'm going to move to the last section right here. Now I will not have space to put my hands also through, so maybe really quick here. Putting in the leaves, tiny bit, yeah. Remember to roll the brush, because when you go in a speed, in a flow, it could get thicker with the paints. Or move on to picking up. Smaller brushes, or even, I think we discussed in one of the class, we even discussed the use of toothpick to do such thing. It's not so convenient, doing so many, toothpick lines, and it could be dangerous at this stage. You don't want to spoil the whole canvas by poking into it. So be very careful. But if you're someone who's happy with that idea and you can achieve it safely, please go ahead, do it. Remember, safety of the canvas is important. Okay. Going over to the dots. Lucky for me, I think I did a little more of the dots already. So I am in the previous layer, so I don't see much of requirement here, but still let me go over. The more thicker it is, the more prettier it is for me. With respect to the grasses like this, it's okay if you do it in one layer also. If you are patient enough to go over inch by inch, millimeter by millimeter, and do it in one layer also. It's up to you to choose the way to work with. For me, I also wanted to see one more thing and how the idea sits with together with the whole painting as such. That's also a reason why I didn't work too much on it in the layer three. And now I'm doing a bit more because I can see the need of it, and I see that the idea will go well. Okay. I guess the definition is clear for me still. The darkest portion, the darker, and the very light portion. This is not dark because it's overall outdoors, um, but it convinces me that the child is in the outdoor atmosphere. Okay, I guess this is it. Let's review what we did, summarize what we did today. So we started looking at corrections first. So that's what we do. Moving on in the number of hours that increases. By the increase, you also mean to define more specifically what you want to say in your painting. So you are correcting. So we make some adjustments to the lip. And I started doing a little more of the darker tonality that was missing in the layer that we did on the body skin, basically. And then we moved on to do the fourth layer of the sky, where I had some pochi stuff around that I wanted to clean. So I did that. And then we started working on layer 5. We did a bit of adjustments to the shirt. I guess we will work on layer 5 a little more on the shirt in the coming classes as well. But for now, we did the adjustments right, and then we moved on to work on the grass totally. So we have done the grass, starting with the darkest tonality right underneath, and making sure that we're able to define the darker tonalities right underneath the body of the girl. And then we moved on doing the grass as well, much more thicker than what it was previously. So that's what we have done. And in the next class, I guess we will work on the toy and the baby girl's shirt, maybe also the hair. I guess that's where real work is needed. So that will be our continuation of layer 5. And it will not be too much of the activity. Let's see how far we go with in the next class. class 15. Yes. Looking forward to having you again in this session. If you have been watching this all along and trying to work along with me as this is awesome. Congratulations to you. You have been doing a great job, and thank you very much for following this. And do write. You might definitely have many questions, because I always think of art as so subjective that it's hard to express the way we do it. So it could be possible that I haven't explained certain things the way you wanted. So it's important that you share with me the questions that you have in mind, no matter how trivial it may sound. It is important. Let me help you if I can. If not, let's find somebody that can help us with this together. So we'll do that. And also remember to celebrate what you are doing. Share it with your friends. Share it with me as well. Put it up here in the comment section on what you're doing. I would love to see that. Do that and keep following. Let's see this baby girl to the finish line together. See you all again. Bye-bye.